Happy birthday, Broken Chains Biker Church. I wish I could have been there with you today. Of course, I had to suffer out here in Florida. For those of you who may not know me, I am Jim Watson. I was Tom and Deb's pastor for a number of years. I have two stories for you today. And of course, being a pastor, they're not going to be short. The first story is when Tom came to me, Tom and Deb, and said, "We'd like to be part of Twin Rivers in your ministry." And I knew Tom for years, knew Deb for years. I knew they were wonderful people and no better people to have part of your church. But Tom said, "But I want to share with you, I've been called, God has called me to reach bikers." I said, "That's fantastic." He said, "Well, there's an issue." And he said, "If you're going to reach bikers, you got to reach them Sunday morning because that's the best time to get them at their events and so forth." I said, "Well, that's fantastic. Why is that an issue?" He said, "Well, most pastors want you in church Sunday morning." I said, "Well, the bikers in church Sunday morning?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, then you need to be where the bikers are." I said, "But there are three rules. One is you can't do it alone." Of course, his lovely bride, Debbie, was called to this ministry, so we had that covered. I said, "Two is you continue to walk in the Lord. I'm going to disciple you. We're going to walk together. I'm going to help you and along in this ministry. I'm going to be here for you." He said, "Great." He goes, "I love that." And I said, "Three, it was in the beginning, I said, we want to make sure you're ministered to, so we're going to have a service on another day of the week just for you and Deb. Just tell us what day, and we're going to have it that day. You just got to show up because, it's for you and Deb." And that service became a huge blessing to the church. And Tom's like, "I love it." And so he agreed to it, and they were off and running, doing incredible work for the Lord. It was a great journey for us. He became part of Twin Rivers, and man, we loved that ministry, and we were helping them out any way we could. It took about 10 years for that ministry to become Broken Chains Biker Church. That's why I know you guys say you're 5 years old. I say, "Nah, you're 15 years old." Tom and Deb, you've been at this a long time. But you did it with passion and love for the Lord. Well, the second story I like better is about 5 years into it or so, Tom came to me and said, "Jim, I need to be ordained. I'm ready to be ordained." I said, "Tom, that's great. I think it's wonderful that that's the path you want." I said, "But you're not ready." I said, "There's just a few more things you need to learn. And, your theology needs to be a little stronger and just a little more experience, but I'll work with you. I'll walk with you. We can get you there." Well, when we left the meeting, I knew he was discouraged. And I would have been in his shoes. And I went home, and my wife, Kristen, said, "Well, how'd it go?" I said, "Well, it went great." I said, "But I know Tom's a little upset, but he's Tom. He's strong. He'll be fine." A couple of weeks later, Kristen and I were having dinner with Tom and Deb, which was very normal for us. And Tom said, "I'd like to go forward with the ordination. Tell me what I need to do. I'll do whatever I need to do for it." And I said, "Fantastic. Let's do this." And Deb jumped in and said, "Well, let's give you all of the story." I said, "Okay." Deb said, "When he came home from meeting with you, he was upset. And basically he was saying, 'Jim won't ordain me.'" And then Deb, being the good wife, said, "Well, what exactly did Jim say?" And he said, "Well, he said I wasn't ready yet. That I need more theology, I need more experience. That he's willing to work with me." Deb's like, "What more could you ask for?" So Tom and Deb agreed, "Well, let's pray about this. Let's see where God leads us." And after prayer, God led them. This is the path to take towards ordination. And he worked hard at it. Tom worked hard at it and did a fantastic job. But what I love about that story is the blessing that comes from that. In ministry, after 24 years in ministry, I have discovered that majority of the time when you tell a person something they do not like, they get angry and upset. Many times they walk away. Sometimes they go around talking to friends, gossiping, basically how the pastor doesn't know what he's doing. But Tom didn't do that. Tom, discouragement is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what do we do with it? Tom and Deb, instead of just being discouraged and jumping ship, they said, "Well, what can we do?" "Well, this is the path we need to take. Let's take it." So they took that discouragement and turned it into a positive, turned it into a way to serve and honor and glorify God. That is a blessing for every pastor. This is the type of people pastors pray for in their church. This is what we desire. Those who, when hit discouragement, hit a rough patch, they're not saying, "Okay, I give up," or "I'm done," or "He's a jerk." But they say, "Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord." Broken Chains Biker Church exists today because those two wonderful people, Tom and Deb, said yes to God, and they were going to do whatever they had to serve Him. We never knew that ministry was going to turn into a church, but that was God's plan. But because Tom and Deb stayed faithful, that they kept jumping through, walking through the barriers they had to walk through, going over, going under them, going around them. The church was created today. I mean, you have that line before you. There's a saying that the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. After 24 years of ministry, I can tell you, we could actually say the harvest is plentiful, the workers are incredibly few. But man, when those workers will say yes to God, there's no stopping them. You know what makes a church great? I'll let you know a secret. Not the pastors, they're important. It's not the music. It's not the number of people in the church. It's when the Christians say, Lord, yes, you have called me and I will respond. The ministry I do now, part of my ministry is I tell people, you were made for greatness, not mediocrity. And I know that because we have a great God. Our God does not do mediocre. He only does great. He has equipped you. He has given you gifts and the abilities to serve Him. He has called you specifically to something that only each of you can do. The question is, are you going to be the harvest that sits there and says, yeah, I love the Lord, but I'm really not going to respond and go do what He called me to do? Are you going to be a Tom and Deb? See, Tom and Deb, as I had a Tom and Deb, they need a Tom and Deb. They need lots of Tom and Debs. They need those who are going to say yes, just like they did. Broken Chains, you have two amazing pastors. Two pastors who know how to fight the good fight. I mean, there's a 2 Timothy 4:7. This verse I think goes through my head almost every day, where it says, no, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. The Apostle Paul was saying that to Timothy. Apostle Paul actually was about to be executed. Of course, his crime, serving Jesus Christ. But that is not a verse we use at the end of our life. It's a verse we use every day, so it can be said at the end of our life. Every day I get up, Lord, let me fight the good fight. Am I taking the steps every day to finish the race? Am I going forward to get towards that finish line? And this isn't talking just salvation. This is talking doing what you have called me to do. Am I taking a step every single day towards that? Am I keeping the faith when I hit obstacles and difficulty? When my pastors come up to me and say, you're on the wrong path. When my pastors come up to me and say, you're not ready for that yet, but we can help you. When that happens, or you're like, thank you. I'm going to keep walking in that direction. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for letting me know what needs to be my next step. You have great pastors who love the Lord. I have never met two better evangelists in my life than Tom and Deb. And I've met a lot. They are amazing. And no pastor can be more proud of two parishioners than I am of Tom and Deb. What they have accomplished for the Lord is inspiring, fills me with joy. I am honored that I had a small part of Broken Chains Biker Church. What they have done. How hard they have fought for the Lord for Broken Chains. It's just inspiring. So the question is, are you rising up? You're celebrating your 5th birthday. That deserves a celebration. Rejoice, be glad, shout out. The Lord has done amazing things. But more amazing things are coming. And if you will rise up, if you will answer the call, you'll be amazed. Things will happen that you can't even conceive of. Because God has more great things waiting. Because He's given you two amazing pastors. But they cannot do it alone. These next 5 years, the sky is the limit if the people will respond. And what wonderful people God has given you as your pastors. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have been celebrating with you, singing with you, yelling with you. Tom and Deb, Kristen and I love you very dearly. We pray for you all the time. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep the faith. Stay strong. Finish the race. You're doing an unbelievable work. You're an inspiration. Broken Chains, how blessed you are to have two people who would fight so hard for you. And how blessed they are to have people who are ready to rise up, hold their arms up, and walk with them into this wonderful calling. Have a great celebration. Hope I pray as your next 5 years, your next 10 years, your next 50 years, that God's work continues to abound. Blessings.